Bienvenidos curling fans. Welcome to the 2024 Ed Werenich Golden Wrench Classic presented by the Lodge Sasquatch Kitchen here at Coyotes Curling Club in Tempe, Arizona. I am Eric Cole, and alongside of me is Mr. Angry Bird himself, Sean Murray.
Eric, looking forward to this one. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we have a pretty good matchup coming up. Both teams, Sturmey and Schuster, are B qualifiers, so we'll get underway here in just a moment with the action. But since they are both B, they will be drawing for button, or drawn for hammer, sorry.
Yep, just one stone here. The way we do it at this event is the teams they'll pick a side, and they'll have two practice shots, and then just one stone to the button.
Yeah, and I would expect both of these to probably be biting white. Ice has been quick all weekend.
I think.
Routinely throwing, 415, 420s for these hammer draws.
Yeah, it's been lightning fast. We played out there ourselves this weekend rather quickly. Got it over with in a hurry, but yeah, it was beautiful ice, just great stuff to play on.
Yeah, a lot of stones, 15-5 and above on the hog to hog for top four draws. So, excellent speed and solid curl as well. Looks like we're underway.
So it looks like, unbeknownst to us, they already did their draw.
And we are underway with Schuster having the hammer. Team Sturmey electing to come in on their first stone.
No, they're just.
Oh, no, they are still. Okay, our bad.
Goodness gracious.
They're going the opposite direction of what we've been doing all weekend.
Well, while these guys get their practice and then their draws for the hammer underway, we'll talk a little bit about where these teams currently sit on the tour standings and how they got here. So far this year, Team Carsten Sturmey sits at number 25 on the tour standings. They are the defending champions of this event, having beaten Reed Carruthers last year in the final. They will be in the Alberta Provincial Championships in about 2 weeks. As for Team Schuster, they are just a little bit below Team Sturmey. They're at 27th on the tour. These two teams have not played each other very much. They only have two meetings historically. Head-to-head, they're 1-1. They've split their meetings. Last time they played was December of 2022 at the DeKalb Spiel in Manitoba, and it was Team Schuster that came on top in that meeting. And both of these teams, as we said, are B qualifiers. They lost one game en route to the playoffs. And interestingly enough, they both lost to the same team. They lost to Team Dustin Kaltoff.
Who had a very good showing overall.
Very good showing. They were A qualifier.
Yeah.
They came out of the A side and then had lost a tight game in the quarters. So small field. There's only 16 teams this year, but really solid field. This event always draws a lot of really good teams.
Yeah, anytime you get Olympic gold medalists to show up at your club to play in a competitive event, you're probably doing all right as far as strength of field.
I would say so. Absolutely.
We played a team in our third game, and we talked to them afterwards, adding it up just to give you an idea. I mean, what was it, 15 Brier appearances between the four of them?
Something like that, yeah. You had Peter Corner, who played lead forever for Russ and Glenn Howard. That was, what do you say, 5, I think?
Something like that, yeah.
So it was a pretty big number. That's some pretty solid competition.
Something else of note with regards to Team Schuster, this is the first event, I believe, all season where they've had all 5 of their teammates here, correct?
That is directly from John himself. I was asking him just before the game about a little bit about their rotation, and he said, the idea is to keep players fresh. And he said this is the first event all year where all of them have been there. The last few games have been primarily Colin Huffman playing second, and John Landsteiner playing lead, and Matt Hamilton has been sitting out the last couple of games, and I believe that's the same lineup they're going to be using in this game.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely. It's clearly working for him.
And as Sean mentioned a moment ago, Sturmey being the defending champion with the same lineup as he had last year.
Yes. So that's the ultimate definition of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And again, they're headed back to provincials, so having another really good season.
And we were just told, actually, because it is the championship draw, and the teams are allowed to choose stones from any sheet or mix and match as they wish, they are being given a little extra practice time this draw, which is, a good benefit that they've earned.
Absolutely. You can, the color you've got, you can pick rocks from any sheet. I believe Team Schuster is playing with the same set of rocks that they just won their semifinal with, which would be the reds from sheet A. This game is on sheet C. And as for Team Sturmey, I know for sure they chose a couple of yellows from A and then some rocks from elsewhere. Don't know exactly, but they're definitely mixing it up. And it's really just about not necessarily which pair of rocks is the best, but which ones you maybe made the most shots with, you just felt were the best matched, you were most comfortable throwing. Whatever. It's not an exact science.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago when Mike McEwen won the event, and they took 6 rocks from one sheet, and then Mike took 2 from another, and we asked him why they just didn't take all 8. Well, he found 2 rocks that were slightly smaller, minuscule differences, but he's like, if I need to try and get through a port, he goes, I want to make sure I've got every chance I can.
Absolutely. That could make all the difference. Sometimes, and that all just goes back to personal preference. I've certainly heard of skips sometimes they will intentionally try to find a couple of cutters for themselves, because if they want to throw a draw, they want to make sure it curls, they want to make sure they can get behind that guard. But I think the most important thing when choosing rocks is whatever pair you're throwing, whatever they do, you want them to be matched. You don't want them to behave differently.
And a lot of good insight. I mean, from this weekend and watching teams of this caliber, when I started curling, and Sean, probably you as well, we were taught 3 to 4 rotations in general. Mm-hmm. And this weekend watching, and talking with Sluchinski and some of the other teams, they're talking 6, 7 rotations now.
Yeah, yep, 6, 7, 8, absolutely. Especially when the ice gets really swingy, because if you under-rotate a rock, especially on swingy ice, there is absolutely no controlling it. No amount of sweeping is going to hold it where you want it to go.
Right, and it helps that, going back to your comment on, if you know you've got a cutter stone, you can kind of muscle through it, but then use it to your advantage by getting it that break point to be delayed further down the sheet.
Absolutely. And if you're using that cutter stone and you can delay the break point and get it where you want it to go, you can bury it further to where if your opponent doesn't have a rock that runs the same, they will not be able to follow you.
something else that it was interesting to in some of our post-game discussions that, we'd mentioned the tour rankings earlier. And those of you that are familiar with college basketball and who's in and who's out with regards to the big dance, you have the KenPom rankings, which are a highly influential rating system. Well, Ken Pomeroy, who is a member of our region here, curls out of Utah, we'll give a quick little shout out to him and his website, doubletakeout.com. And I was amazed at the number of teams that are using that for power rankings to coincide with the World Curling Tour rankings as well, to see who's hot, who's not, and what's going on.
Wow.
Very information-based site, not a lot of fancy graphics, but if you're looking for data, it's for you.
Absolutely. I've seen a little bit.
So, Sturmey is going to have the hammer to start.
Yep.
Covered the pin, counted as a 0. Something that we did in this event that was a bit different was if both teams covered the pin, they just got a 0. We didn't triangulate. But then you'd have to throw a second draw with no sweepers.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, a little bit different,
A little more challenging.
Yeah. So, but didn't come up, didn't happen at all this weekend, but I was excited for the possibility.
That was very close. I mean, Sturmey covered the pin and Schuster slid maybe an inch behind the pin. But that's all the difference that was needed. So getting underway, Team Schuster's lead, John Landsteiner. Long time lead for Team Schuster.
The lefty out of Wisconsin. I feel like we could have a little bit better alliteration for something there.
Good. I don't know what, though.
Neither do I.
Not that creative.
No. We are playing 5 rock and no tick.
No tick, yep.
So looks like that's touching the center line. So Sturmey's going to be forced to do something different if he wanted to play that aggressive right out of the gate.
Yeah, looks like with the center line guard going up, Schuster is elected to go right after this Team Carson Sturmey, based out of Edmonton, Alberta. The Sturmey lead is Curtis Goller. this event is certainly going to serve as some good warm-up for Team Sturmey, who, as we said, in 2 weeks will have Alberta Provincials coming up.
Yeah, they're talking to them a little bit. They're obviously excited about their position. Always some heavy hitters that come out of Alberta. Never an easy province to win.
Well, one of the toughest, if not the toughest to win. You could put Alberta and Manitoba as among the two. Not that there's such thing as an easy province to win in Canada
Fair.
at all, but Alberta and Manitoba in particular come up as probably two of the toughest for sure. So, attempted to come around that guard, stop in the top 8 foot. Didn't quite finish enough, so Lansdowne will have an opportunity to make a play on it.
Something we also noticed over the course, and you can watch during the game here, is you'll see Colin sweeping both sides of the rock, doing the lion's share of the heavy lifting with the broom.
Wasn't really able to save that one. John maybe a little bit wide, and it just feathers it, and now it's pretty much totally lost under the guard. Early mistake. Team Sturmey with hammer and one buried under a center guard. Not going to elect to go around again. Wise to try and keep play spread out among the rings. They're just going to draw the side of the house.
I was checking some of the stats earlier on Curling Zone, and I think, and I go back and refresh my memory on it, but Sturmey's played something like 60 games on tour this year so far, but less than 5 of them were decided by 1 point.
Wow, okay.
Right? Just
not many close games.
Yeah.
So that second stone by Curtis Goller came up short as a corner guard. Not exactly what called for, but not a bad miss. Can still be used by Team Sturmey with the hammer. This is Colin Huffman's first shot of this game. Comes and sits right on top of that Sturmey rock. This is still pretty wide open. You could see Sturmey still just draw around that guard. As long as they're fully in the 8 foot, they could be sitting in early too.
You're right, and it's interesting watching again this weekend teams with the corner guard up. There's been a pretty good mix of teams coming around the wide side and coming from the inside to get around those corners. Something I don't think you see a lot of at club level curling, right? Just mixing up which way you come around.
You almost never see it at the club level because most of the time at the club level teams just don't think to go around that way because we look at that as, oh, that's the weeds out there. I don't know what the ice does. Well, that's part of what these teams do is they read and use the entire sheet. And if it curls more on the wide side and they can actually get buried, that's the side they're going to use.
And again, coming back to the comments earlier about rotation, right? You're holding that break point longer, so you don't need to go this wide to get around on the wide side.
Exactly. In this case, Team Sturmey looking to come around the guard from the middle. This is the first shot for Glenn Van Ants. Pretty good. It's just a touch heavy, but should stay in the 8 foot. But it didn't really get very buried. We'll see if John wants to chase this. Probably not much of a choice. Sturmey sitting 2 with the hammer. See if he can get a roll back to the middle, try and draw play to the center of the sheet.
Yeah, I think you'd see teams like this play that hit and roll, not necessarily be afraid to go behind the tee line where, I think traditionally, you'd see teams maybe want to try and corner to that or tap it back. But, definitely a different just skill set when you get teams of this level.
Yeah, you get teams of this level. The thing is, if it's open and we can hit it, we need to try and remove it. And also trying to draw play back to the middle because that way you can shrink the scoring area and get a better chance of a force. That being and Collins' second shot was a little wide, just barely made contact. Did just remove it from the rings, but didn't hold his shooter. So Team Storming will look to try and replace that stone, see if they can get a little more curl and try and get it hidden.
You know, I didn't notice on Glenn's first stone. Is this the same ice, or did he take a little less?
I didn't notice where the broom was the first time, but given how the draw ran and given how Collins' hit ran, I'm going to say that this line may be a little bit straight. So teams may be having to be careful with how much ice they take and maybe even how much rotation they give to these rocks to give them a chance to bury.
Yeah, there you can see Kyle Deering trying to push that stone over a bit, get it buried, and it's, you know, probably about the same spot as it was, just a little higher.
It's almost exactly the same. It didn't clear the guard by much. I mean, maybe only an inch or two, and it just didn't really finish after that. So this will be our first look at Chris Plies, the third for Team Schuster, looking to make the hit. Need to be a little bit careful on this one. It'd be easy to have this run and jam on that stone that's just outside of the rings. The Schuster team does play a five-man rotation. Speaking with John Schuster just before the game, this is the first event all year where all five of them have actually been at the event together. Very nicely executed hit and roll to the back of the forefoot by Chris Plies.
Yeah, now that's behind 4 stones, or 3 stones. It's the 4th stone back there.
And just like that, play is drawn to the middle, which favors Team Schuster. It always favors the team without the hammer to keep play towards the center, because you can shrink the scoring area and minimize opponent chances for a multiple score.
And it looks like we're going to see probably our first peel or run back attempt of the game.
Yeah, the way these are lined up, if you can run that guard back, basically straight back, you're going to make contact with the red, that's going to make contact with the yellow, and it's pretty much guaranteed to go straight onto the button rock. So this is just about opening it up and creating a little bit of room.
You know, Thursday we had practice for all the teams, and we did a sheet rotation and all that, but something that was of interest to me was just the amount of runbacks they practiced versus draws during their 15 minutes per sheet.
During attempting to run back there, did a little bit wide, just makes the peel and gets it off the back one. So slight advantage Team Schuster. He's just content to throw another guard. Looking good right now to probably force Team Stormay to 1 here, if not, maybe get a steal. Like to keep this high if possible. The tighter it gets to the rings, the easier the run back becomes. This is looking a little bit heavy, so now they're going to try and
lock it on.
Yeah, try and overcurl it, set up an angle.
Yeah.
It's just a little deep there from Chris. It slides all the way into the rings, and that lineup there in curling parlance is what we call a loaded gun. You make contact with that top red pretty much anywhere, and that Yellowstone is guaranteed to go right back onto the red shot stone. But just the same, this is still looking like a pretty good force situation for Team Schuster.
You know, something else that was very obvious in our games this weekend, and you know, we're look at the ice he's taken for this hit, but a lot of times how they played board and downweight hits to keep their stones around versus a control or a normal. But then when they had to bring the heat, they did it.
Yes.
You know, it was a very well-timed and good decision-making on how to throw what weight and using all the tools in the box versus constantly just calling the same hit weight over and over.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just when you play, 60 games, 100 games, whatever, as many games as teams like this have played on tour, you develop that toolbox because you're constantly playing against the best teams in the world. You got to have every tool in your arsenal. Makes the nose hit, gets shot stone, and now with that little lineup of reds up top, I don't know, that Stormay stone is suddenly very difficult to get to. Team Schuster.
So we see Colin down there joining the discussion. John back at the far end, got the stone ready.
John Landsteiner never gets involved in team discussions. He just gets the stone ready and waits for a decision to be made.
Keep it above their rock.
Looks like with that broom, John Schuster is elected to just come down and probably freeze to or come up just in front of that yellow shot stone belonging to Karsten Sturmey.
Yeah, just shrink that scoring zone, force them to 1.
Yeah, and this is also about setup. Put it in a place where Sturmey can't remove it, and maybe he'll have a chance to remove that stone. But this is about guaranteeing the force at worst, and if the opportunity is there, maybe setting up a possible steal.
A lot of curling to do. A lot of curling to do.
The bounce, oh boy.
Yeah, now Sturmey's going to have an opportunity to probably come down with just, back 4, back 8.
Yeah, I mean, you can throw almost any weight you want at this. You can see the whole rock and then some, but I can't imagine it would be much more than, say, you could probably only throw hack or so at this, back line to hack. And yeah, you could also just throw a heavy draw, bounce and then hit it, and then kind of bounce towards the middle and sit 2 buried and make that well. It could, suddenly a 3 is in play.
And just like that, with the difference of 1 stone.
Yep. And the difference of being, a foot or 2 heavy versus a foot or 2 light. If that's a foot or 2 light, it's top 4. Sturmey can't do anything about it. But it was just a little heavy, bounced off, and it went from a really good shot to a bit of an uh-oh.
Something for those of you at home to watch too, and all these guys at this level do it, but Karsten in particular, and I've noticed it having played him a number of times over the years, his pre-shot routine, very calculated, never changes, which, for somebody at home, the takeaway from that is, so critical when you see people not doing it.
Yep, it's about muscle memory, it's about your routine doesn't change. It shouldn't change. It should be the exact same so that you don't have to do anything differently for each shot. And makes the hit, but it doesn't really finish up for him. And now this has left a double for John. It's fairly thin, but because they're so close together, this is pretty easy. You can hit anywhere from half rock to about a third. You can stick this almost right on the pin. And if made well and it doesn't roll anywhere, I'm not sure Sturmey is going to have a shot to score. He may just have to draw the 8-foot to hold Schuster to a steal of 1 potentially. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, a moment ago, when Karsten had the opportunity, the stone was, half a stone deeper than it is now, and that half a stone when John threw his probably isn't there to move it if he makes this really good and still get shot.
Exactly.
Just a game of inches.
A game of millimeters. Just tossing it back and forth. He's on this to try and make it curl. Makes it hit, but just must have been a little bit outside. Didn't curl up. It doesn't remove the second Sturmey stun. So Sturmey now with a draw with a full 8-foot, touch the 4-foot for an opening 2 points.
It's interesting. I'm curious to see what side they come down on because they've been throwing primarily interns on this, and Karsten's now standing over on his outturn side for the draw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not the simplest draw in the world. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's the intern side is tough, or I guess we should say the clockwise side for those of us who are lefties. It's tough because you have that corner guard a little bit in the way. But then this counterclockwise side, there hasn't really been much play over there, so the speed might be a bit of a guess. You could maybe make an argument for taking the same path that they used to try and go into the corner, try and draw like the left side of the 8 foot as we're looking at it, but he's elected to play the out-turn counterclockwise just between two reds, touch a piece of the 4 foot and pick up 2, which is as good a start as you're looking for in the opening end.
You see Glenn doing something, he's sweeping now, but coming up there a little bit, just kind of cleaning, keeping his broom in front of the stone at first. We've had a good clean ice all week here at the event, but still just another good lesson of, keeping it clean just to prevent any unnecessary picks or any issues.
Absolutely. There should always be a broom on the rock. No reason not to. So, draw made successfully, puts it right on the tee line. So that's an opening score of 2 for Team Sturmey over Team Schuster. And that's the end of the first end of this championship final at the 2024 Golden Wrench, coming from Coyotes Curling Club in Tempe, Arizona.
Second end action getting underway here. We have first stone getting ready to come down. We'll see if Sturmey elects to come in having scored that deuce, or if he puts up a center guard.
I feel like that probably wants to come in. That's a typical setup what we see when a team scores 2 and goes up by a couple. They'll typically bring the first one in, try to keep things a little simpler.
And coming just a little deep there, back 8. So probably see Schuster elect to put up a corner on this, coming from the outside wide.
Yep. This is something else we've seen. We've seen teams do. They'll play corners coming way from the outside rather than from the center. That basically ensures that if it undercurls at all, it's not going to end up being a center guard, which is the last thing Schuster wants right now. Just want to say welcome to all of those tuning in. We're going to have about 120 or so people tuning in to this championship final at the 2024 Ed Werenich Golden Wrench Classic, coming to you from the Coyotes Curling Club in Tempe, Arizona. My name is Sean Murray, Eric Kowal alongside. I think this is an event that a lot of these teams really look forward to. They enjoy getting down here in the warmth of Arizona when it's the rest of most of Canada and the rest of the U.S. is mostly frozen or at least close to freezing.
Well, especially coming into this year.
Yeah.
I didn't experience it much, but the people back home were sure to tell me about what I was missing.
Oh yeah.
And I was sure to tell them I was not missing it.
Yes, I was sure to tell everyone I knew that I am very glad I live here and not Minnesota, because I do not miss that at all.
So Sturmey putting up a tight center guard to the house. Schuster electing to come around his corner guard.
Yeah, this is by, but it's very heavy. This may not even stay in play. It's going to go right through. John Landsteiner's not going to be happy about that one.
And you can see Karsten putting his broom down, indicating top 4. Looking for Glenn just to come around and
take early control of this end. If anyone else out there ever has a desire to come down to Coyotes and curl yourself, we have a pretty good slate of bonspiels every year. Our next event here is called our Spring Training Bonspiel. That is March 1st through 3rd. That's always a good one. Weather is super nice here in March. Nice and warm.
Entry also includes spring training baseball game.
Absolutely.
And event winners. You can see them on our website and social media, but you get a very nice World Series styled curling ring as well for the champions.
Those are very cool. I have one of those myself. We also have a women's bonspiel a couple weeks after that. The Donna Perky Women's Bonspiel. That's March 15th through 17th. If you want to come down a little later in the year, we have our Desert Ice Bonspiel. That's April 19th through 21st. And if you would like to come out to Arizona in the middle of July and see what a little bit of desert heat is like, well, it's a lot of desert heat, let's be honest. It's pretty hot by that point. We do have our premier Hotter Than Hell Bonspiel, July 12th through 14th.
Not uncommon to be around 110, 115 Fahrenheit for those of you in the U.S. listening.
Very easily. But also, if you do want to get into that one, I am told it fills up faster than any bonspiel we have. So if you have an interest in coming out and cooking yourself a little bit and then freezing yourself on the curling ice at the same time, keep an eye out for it.
And just doing the conversion real quick on that Hotter Than Hell, it's about 43 to 45 C for those of you watching north of the border.
Not being Canadian myself, even I know that's hot. So we got some stones behind the tee line here. Hard to tell who's shot at the moment, but this setup is totally in favor of Team Storm right now. Everything in the middle. Schuster with the hammer would love to spread things out a little bit, but it's just not really setting up that way at the moment. Nice little tap and roll.
Yeah, now Sturmey sitting 3 temporarily.
You see, even that was, like you were talking about earlier, how a lot of these teams are throwing the quiet weight hits. Team Stormay could have absolutely thrown hit weight at that stone if they wanted to, but they don't need to. By tapping it back where it is now, that stone is a serious problem for Team Schuster because it makes it much more difficult to maneuver things around, and the scoring area is really small, and manufacturing a deuce of their own is that much tougher. So you don't necessarily always need to throw big weight or even hit weight. You can just move it to a different spot on the sheet, and suddenly that rock is no longer a friend of Team Schuster. Colin Huffman looking to play a tap back of his own. He can just move this back, sort of sit there, maybe set up a little pocket. Pretty nicely done.
Yeah, very nicely done. Opens up the forefoot a bit. Sitting shot. And now those stones are acting as catchers for Schuster, where a moment ago they were hurting them.
Yeah, and that is almost what I would call a catcher's mitt, just a big old pile back there that you would have a really hard time rattling a stone through. But Team Stormy going to look to basically play the same kind of shot, tap this as close to the nose as they can.
Yeah, curious to see if he plays that same soft weight or if he brings it up now to try and, get some room, get rid of those catchers.
I would imagine probably not much more weight, because what you don't want is for your shooter to roll off at all. You got to hold your shooter right there. So if it rolls off at all, chances are it's also jamming.
Yep.
So you want to leave your stone right in front there. So it's pretty good coming down.
He may make that little port with the tap. Well, just a little soft on it, but still, the advantage here now, even with Schuster sitting shot, it looks like, the Sturmey stone's above the tee line.
Yes, and because of that, it's in the prime position, actually.
Yep.
And that stone is a big problem for Schuster. He's got a tough time getting rid of it. And even though that red is currently shot, it's going to be a little tricky to put that on the scoreboard at the moment, the way things are set up.
Yeah, I remember taking the camp years ago with Ross Howard and his crew, and something he said he said a lot that stuck with me, but I've never seen a stone behind the tee line improve its position.
That's pretty true.
Outside of maybe some around the world type,
some wheel kind of shot, they push it up, but generally speaking, once it's behind the tee line, it's more of a problem than it is a help.
And you can see John's now thinking, a couple different ideas and appears to be coming the other direction.
Yeah, looks like he's going to have Chris Plies throw the clockwise. Draw through the port between those two guards. Probably going to try and sit, I would say, just next to that yellow Sturmey stone. You don't want to go too far. You don't want to go all the way to the button for sure. Maybe just top 4 foot.
I was talking to Chris a little bit yesterday and just getting to know him more, having played him a number of times, but never really talked a whole lot. I did not realize what a music fan he is. He was telling me about his record collection and the band that he is currently just all hyped up on it's called Hermanos Gutierrez. And
Okay.
It's a couple of guys that primarily play acoustic or guitar with instrumental.
Okay.
So,
very good.
Interesting.
Yeah. Chris has always been a big music guy. I mean, I think he plays himself. And he's always had decent taste in music, as far as I know. But that sounds pretty interesting. So that come around didn't quite work and overcurled and wrecked the guard. Now that second shot for Sturmey is pretty well covered, but so is the Schuster shot stones. We're going to see how this plays out. There might be a path to draw through and get down to that Schuster stone, but it's very tough. The port you're coming through is not the 2 stones at the top of the 12-foot. The port is actually the red biter and the 4-foot Sturmey rock. That's the port, and it's angled the wrong way for this turn. So this is actually much, much smaller than it looks like. It's through, but it's not going to get to the Schuster stone.
But it does appear to be shot.
Yeah, I would say that is sitting 1 at the moment.
But that little tap, there probably leaves enough room that if John were to just follow him down, he could still sit 1-2.
It would be very close. It's very, very close. Either way, this is a pretty congested house for Team Schuster. He'd like to have more room than this, but it's not shaping up that way, and not going to really end up that way, I would say. One of the problems now is that not really much choice but for Chris Plies to try and follow that shot, come through the port, sit in front of those two, and Schuster will be shot, assuming this is executed correctly. But there's still going to be room for Sturmey to put another stone on top of that, and it may be very, very tough to remove because there won't be any room to still be shot in front of it. Trying to make this curl. This is all over the ground right now. Colin, the mountain mover, makes that curl and hits it enough to sit 2, but everything behind the tee line.
That stone at the top of the 4-foot on these last 2 throws that's impeding that port has been the stone that's not been the factor. Both times they've barely skinnied the high red that's the biter.
Mm-hmm.
Curious to see if they shave the broom over and call the same thing. Or it looks like he's maybe hitting this in the back now.
Yeah, this looks more like a hit and roll.
Yeah.
He's going to hit and just try and flop over in front of that red Schuster stone that's currently sitting, I believe, to be second. Looks like second. pretty important to roll on this. You don't want to just sit there, because if you don't roll, then Schuster is going to. He's going to have a good chance at setting up at least a 2, if not a 3. So it's a pretty big deal to roll and get behind cover if you can. Look out, get close to that top 4 stone. Oh, uh-oh.
And just like that, the door is open.
Yep. And that's what we were talking about, is that the port is actually that rock that was just hit and that 12-foot biter. And it's tough to get through even when you think you're by. Like early on, they were sweeping for curl. They weren't sure it was going to get there, and then suddenly it was gone.
So I got a message here a couple moments ago, and unrelated to curling, but over the years I've been told I look a lot like one of the 2 guys from Mythbusters, which people have not decided on which one.
Okay.
It would somehow I look like both, but
Okay.
I just got a message saying I sound like Chris Collinsworth, which I have never heard that one before. So
I'm not sure that's a compliment, to be honest with you.
depending on your views, but yeah.
Oh.
So I'll try and do my best impression here at the moment. So now here's a guy, John Schuster, who I tell you, he's done just about everything in the curling world at this point, with an opportunity to come draw in. So, well, hopefully that works.
Oh, jeez. Oh, okay. I'm going to start calling you Chris. Speaking of Schuster, got a good chance to draw in and try and sit 3. Cluster of rocks in the 4-foot here. It doesn't quite get there for 3rd, and you notice that they got off that right at the end. And I can tell you the reason they did that is because they knew it wasn't going to get there for 3rd. And if they swept it and it curled too much, it would expose that backstone, and Sturmey might be able to get through and make a hit and roll inside and take the whole end away.
Yeah, they basically just recreated that little port.
They did, yeah, and they made it even harder now. And
yeah.
So the idea was, it's not there for 3rd. Let's leave it protecting the situation in the back, and we can still maybe get 2 out of this. So that was just an on-the-fly change that was predicated by where they knew the stone was going to end up, and that's heads-up play there by Team Schuster.
Now Sturmey put the broom down for the draw over on the opposite side of the yellow, but then now Kyle suggested, let's maybe play this angle tap, and
Yeah.
we've got Sturmey coming back down.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough to get through that port to the shot stone without throwing some kind of hit weight. And I don't see any way you're rolling inside. You're more than likely going to leave Schuster, probably some kind of hit for 2. But if there is ever some way you can just feather this left stone basically sideways and just put it right in front of those 2 reds, it's going to be really tough for Schuster to score.
And you see Colin taking a quick peek at what they're discussing.
Mm-hmm.
And it does look like they've changed their mind and are going to come over and try and shave this over.
Yeah.
Wick it under.
Yeah, it looks to me like they're throwing some decent weight at this. They just want to make contact. I doubt you're even hitting a quarter of this. Because there's a couple ways to do this. You can, if you hit it a little fatter, it'll actually hit the second shot stone and sort of bounce sideways. Probably still end up shot. But if you hit it really thin, if you could ever get it over, just get it to glance off the current shot stone and sit right there. Either one is going to produce a pretty good result. So I like this call. I think this has more. It's a little tougher shot, but there's way more upside than just coming straight through that port.
That's something all these teams are just so good at, is determining, is the upside worth the risk.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Playing the percentages.
Yes, absolutely. That's a big part of the game these days, is risk calculation. Like, yes, it's a little more difficult, but is the potential benefit outweigh the risk? I would say in this situation it does.
You see trying to push the stone over, sweeping for curl. And that is about as well executed as you could do.
And there you go. That's perfect. And now Sturmey is sitting 1.
And that red stone that was preventing the port is now
in the way.
Yep.
It's now making the draw very tough.
I'll be honest, watching some of these games and playing some of these games over the course of this weekend, I'm surprised there's so many stones in play in the second end already.
Mm.
I mean, it's fun to see.
Yeah, it's fun to see, but yeah, these teams are not afraid to go after each other.
And it's one of those things where, we've talked about it where when you're playing somebody who maybe has you a bit overmatched, in our situation, you try and shorten the game.
Yep.
There is none of that going on here. These guys are just trying to trade haymakers.
Yeah, they're just going at it, and there's no fear at all. So the only real option for Schuster that I can see, and that's what he's playing, is he's going to try this red double run back, basically. Just drive it into the pile. If you can ever make contact with that yellow Sturmey stone, you might be able to squeeze that out of there and get 3 or even 4. I think it's possible.
Colin
This
going
looks like
hard.
it's over.
Yeah. So that's a steal of 1.
Steal of 1. And
after 2, Carson Sturmey up 3-0.
Make sure you guys keep using your hands. My hog is like 15.6. They're the hog line. They're my first one. Like Chris got 15.6, so like 15.57. It's like maybe at the hog line, but you guys are going anyways by hog, weren't you? Or how wide? Yeah, we were. Okay. What's the width? Sorry, we didn't want to be deep with it. I know. But yes. It worked. Okay. I think two. Okay, let's go, guys.
And here we are getting ready, starting up the third end of the 2024 Ed Werenich Golden Wrench Classic, brought to you by Lodge Sasquatch Kitchen in Tempe, Arizona. Sean, when you started curling 15, 20 years ago?
22 years ago.
22 years ago, not that we're counting the days.
Too many.
Did you ever think you'd be broadcasting or curling in Arizona?
Not a chance. I had, at that time, I had never even left the East Coast, much less thought about it going to Arizona. But no. Now I'm here in the land of the sun and well on my way to becoming an old fuddy-duddy, and life is just grand. So Team Sturmey with an early, as we say, 3-0 lead in this game, heading into the third end. Still plenty of game left, but Team Schuster's going to look to turn up the offense a little bit, get things going. There's a couple of ends so far. There's been a lot of just position changes, like it's been advantage one team and then advantage the other team, and it's been back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, the scoreboard thus far does not indicate how close some of this game has been with the stones in play and the shot making that's happened.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. It's been a really, really interesting game so far. A lot of stuff to talk about. I'm glad that they're not just going
running rocks.
Yeah, I was afraid they were going to play the first end, just in hit, and we're sitting over here talking about the wallpaper or whatever.
Well, it's very nice though. I mean, it's like a taupe.
Is it even wallpaper is the question. Who knows? Pretty standard opening. First Sturmey stone goes just biting the forefoot. Team Schuster throw in the corner. See if up 3 if Sturmey wants to bring the second one in, or if they're just content to throw the guard. I would say probably just the guard for now. Still pretty early. No, they just get to nibble the rings.
Which, honestly is an interesting call, I think, because now if they nose it, that stone's out and they still get a guard. Granted, it's not their own stone, but they can come around. No, just a thought.
No, absolutely. But I feel like maybe if it was only a 2-point game still, they probably would leave that short. But it being a 3-point game, they're okay with it being in, knowing Schuster probably is going to hit this, which John Van Steiner is currently doing. They're okay simplifying a little bit. It's been a couple of very complicated ends, and they were actually in some trouble last end. One good shot away from giving up 3 or maybe even 4.
Number of comments over the weekend as well about these Team Schuster hardline brooms. They have this colored chrome, and the tool's only as good as the carpenter.
Yep.
But having said that, they do look sharp.
Yeah, they're pretty snazzy looking brooms.
There's a green chrome, a chrome, I think, and then a blue chrome, and a couple others. Yeah, but they're sharp looking brooms.
Clyde's is using one that is either purple or pink.
It's purple. Yeah.
Okay, it's purple.
Yeah, and Colin's got the green, but John had the silver. Well, John Landsteiner had the silver, and John Schuster has the blue. So it's good looking. And their brush head covers had some of like the Funko Pop art on them that somebody had done at one point. So their Team Schuster covers this year are pretty snazzy, a little bit different than just the usual team logo or something else, right? It was just, they're real good looking.
So with that stone top 8 foot and mostly guarded by a Schuster rock, this is Sturmey elected to throw a high center, so willing to stay aggressive based on this setup. This looks like Colin is going to be attempting to split, maybe catch a little piece of that red that's just out of the rings, push it in, and more importantly, roll the shooter underneath that corner guard.
You make that, all of a sudden this end has changed again.
It is
right?
massively changed.
Every shot last end seemed to just favor whoever threw that last stone. Like it was such a great cat and mouse end. And
look at that. That was
right.
That's about perfect you make it. And look at how that has totally changed the end. Not only do you now have a stone buried underneath a corner guard, which you always want with hammer. You have moved your own that was a serious problem out into a usable position. You can get to the Sturmey rock. I mean, that's like 2 or 3 different good things accomplished on one shot. And that's something these teams at this level are so good at. Maximizing every shot and getting the best possible result, best possible results with every shot.
Yeah, I mean that as far as efficiency was concerned, he got like 3 shots out of 1 there.
Absolutely.
And we do see Team Sturmey going after the one that's behind the corner guard. Looks like they're going to probably be able to get it and chip it out, but not stick around.
Yeah, that was all just about. That was a scoreboard play for sure. I mean, they had some access to that, but at this point, if Schuster can continue making their shots, they're in good shape to set up a possible deuce here. Still some shots have to be made for that. But the nice thing is that pushing that where it did also drew play away from the center and allows Team Schuster to do something with this Sturmey rock. We were saying earlier how a team with hammer likes to keep play towards the center. The team with hammer wants to try and spread it out. Try and play to the wing to give themselves room. Looking for the short run back.
And pretty well executed given the weight that was called. Keeping that stone back, maybe it can act as a catcher.
It absolutely does not hurt Team Schuster to have that back there. They're sitting shot.
Yep.
It's not a very easy stone to remove where it is because that yellow stone is still there, possibly acting as a catcher. And you also have to get fairly tight to that red stone that's just off the rings. You risk raising it in. So decent setup shot. And again, not throwing a ton of weight at this. It's very easy to, okay, I have this 4-foot run back. I'm just going to throw normal and kill it. Yeah, you can do that, but are you getting the most out of that shot by doing that? And no, you don't need to remove that yellow rock. Just move it someplace where it's helping you and it's causing trouble for your opponent.
Yeah, these guys are all so good at run backs and those big weight shots. It's impressive to watch. But at the same time, it's also impressive to see how comfortable they are playing with that many stones in play.
Absolutely. And not being afraid to just, simply move things around. Just move them to where they are to your favor. Yes, they're opponent's stones, but in the right position, they can be your friend. Like that stone back there, that yellow Sturmey stone is absolutely a friend of Team Schuster right now. It's behind that corner guard. They can freeze to it. There are jam possibilities. And Team Sturmey would like nothing better for that stone to be completely off the sheet because it is absolutely not helping them in any way where it is right now.
And then I think part of the reason they're taking their time here is they're concerned about, you could say just go after that red, but I think they're concerned about that jam.
Absolutely, as they
right?
should be.
And that's, and it looks like they're maybe talking about trying to make a double off that red that's close to the house to mix up the angles.
They were talking about that first, but it looks like they're actually just going to play a straight come around.
Yeah.
Come around everything, come through the two high guards, and just wrap one around behind that 8-foot Schuster rock. And this is again this is about drawing play to the center. And they're even signaling back 4 foot. And back 4 foot is fine because it's going to be buried. You'll get maximum curl, and it's going to be really difficult for Team Schuster to get to. And if they chase it, well, the play has been drawn back to the center, which is exactly where the non-hammer team would like it, because they can shrink the scoring area and make it tougher for Team Schuster to score multiples. Back there. So basically covering the pin just back of the tee line. Pretty much totally buried, but that guard is pretty high. I feel like you can still get to that.
Yeah, you could probably throw again, the softer weight, the back line, space weight,
yes.
and just again tap it back. You don't even need to remove it.
No, not at all. You can just tap it back 12.
You tap it back 12. You're sitting top button, and 1-2.
Mm-hmm. For those that maybe have never heard the term space weight before, we're referring to more than backline, less than hack. The space between the backline and the hack.
Yeah, not outer.
Not outer space, no. not
That's what Sean throws on Monday nights for us.
If needed. If needed. Or sometimes called parking lot weight.
Beautiful sweeping there by Colin. Get that around the guard and then work on carving it over. And again, talking about just removing, from the button to the back 12.
Yeah.
Now they've got a catcher on both sides.
Yeah.
Sitting to.
Yeah. Look at this result. That was
very efficient again.
It was super efficient, and Colin had to sweep the lights out to make it happen. But that's the reason why he's on this team, to allow them to make shots like that. And look at this. These are 2 shots now where they have simply moved Sturmey stones around. They have not removed either one of them. Those 2 stones are in terrible places for Team Sturmey and are helping Team Schuster absolutely. So really, really good setup shot, and Team Schuster looking good to hopefully score a deuce this end.
Kyle Deering coming down, now playing a little bit more up weight, removing the Schuster shot rock, not getting any roll on it. And I don't know that they wanted any because it probably would have jammed on the yellow.
That may have been the reason they were throwing the upweight. They may have been trying the roll, but hopefully getting the jam and just still rolling off.
Yeah.
But it over-curled and stayed right there. And John looking at where's the best place for him to roll. And I feel like if he can get a little wiggle behind that high center guard, spread things out a little bit. But if it comes up They roll behind the center. That's not too bad, but I think preferably he'd like to roll behind that corner. Keep play to the wings if possible.
Here we see Colin again working the broom. He may have been the best sweeper here this weekend.
Oh, Colin's one of the best sweepers in the world.
Oh, I know,
There's
but we
no
had a lot of the
question
best teams in the world here as well. So, there was a lot of good players, but yeah, just watching him, just how the technique and the power and how he gets over the broom,
Yeah,
is impressive.
it's really something else. I mean, it's almost I don't want to use the term freak of nature necessarily because he's just that much of an athlete and has just that much power. But it's really impressive to see, and it's akin to being a someone who's played guitar for a while, and then you suddenly go and see Steve Vai or Yngwie Malmsteen or Al Di Meola or something.
Or Hermanos Gutierrez.
Or Hermanos Gutierrez, apparently, yeah. Go up there and just shred, and it's just like, oh, okay, well, I don't know what I'm doing with this thing at all.
And we see, Carson now coming down looking to basically execute the same shot that they just played, but every time they hit it, that stone's just getting a stone higher.
Yeah, at this point, it's more about limiting Schuster to 2.
And, you're still up 1 with Hammer at that point.
Absolutely.
And, something you can't see on camera, just to make it aware, obviously, this is the Ed Werenich Golden Wrench Classic. The trophy itself is about, a 3-foot golden wrench.
3 foot? I don't know if it's quite that long. Maybe 2 feet.
Oh, it's more than 2.
It's a good size.
We're going to measure it. We may have somebody measure it for us.
Okay.
But, yeah, and it's had some pretty solid champions. Pat Simmons, John Morris, Mike McEwen, just a rock star set of names on it. But then, the players also get to take home their own mini gold wrench.
Absolutely.
So that's out on the sheet next to them on display for the viewers here in person and the players.
Mm-hmm. Very, very, very nice keeper trophies. Really, really cool trophy.
And speaking of Ed and the name of this event, the namesake, he was nice enough to, unfortunately couldn't be here this year, but did do a nice little recording for all the teams, wishing everybody luck. Just what an awesome guy, and when he's been here for the event over the years, the stories that man can tell about curling. Oh my gosh!
I can't even imagine. He'd just be just a library. Just a library of stories.
If he wasn't a curler, and I know he was a firefighter by trade, he could have been a stand-up comic.
Oh, sure.
Like, dude is amazing.
I've heard as much.
Probably curl, Colin. I don't think we're going straight anymore. Definitely curl if we're going anywhere.
So I just got another message here asking about a cage match between Colin and Pat I don't know that they'd be up for it, but you know what? If they're on their sliders on the ice, I'd be down to watch.
It could be interesting. Could be very interesting.
Yeah, Pat's another guy though. He's what, probably 6'2", 6'3".
He's not small,
right?
He's a good sized guy.
Better shape than myself, or I'll go down the limb and say you as well.
Yes, that's not a limb. That's a twig, if anything. So, Schuster with his first attempted to draw in and sit 2, but just didn't quite have the mustard to get there. Comes up short. And now, Sturmey with his last is going to look to just pick out that red Schuster rock. And this is tricky. He's got to avoid a couple of jam possibilities over on the side there. See if he can negotiate this safely out properly and come out of this end with a force. It's a big weight. Looks like this needs to curl.
Yeah, it
Not
does.
anything.
Okay.
Little piece.
And enough to get it through.
Just enough to sneak it through. Good
Well,
Lord.
I mean, there was 2 jam possibilities there, and how he managed to feather that through. What a
he barely even touched it.
right.
Barely even touched it.
You know, as a member here, there's been talk over the years. You know, should we upgrade our stones? You know, do we need to get new stones? Our stones are dead. And then every year after this event, when we watch these guys and the shots they make, we say, oh, you know what? It's probably just us. It's not the stones.
Yeah, it's just you throw it harder,
Right?
Yeah.
And the precision that they do it with is just amazing.
I will maybe throw out there that's probably just a fraction thinner than Sturmey was hoping to hit that.
Agreed.
I mean, that looks like it almost missed it. It did almost miss it, but at the same time, yeah, it's
But having the weight that he threw allowed for that little bit of contact to make the shot.
Exactly. You throw that 6.5 seconds or whatever that was, hog to hog. You just touch that little piece of it, and it's still enough to pretty much remove it from the house. Now that leaves Schuster with no choice but just to draw full 8 for 1. So mission accomplished here for Team Sturmey.
Go back in this line. Gotta go line! Gotta go, boys!
Gotta go for line. Uh-oh. This is wrecked and short. Oh, no.
Wow. And this
boy.
looks like a steal of 3 for Carson and crew,
Boy, that's,
who will now be up 6-0 after 3 ends.
that's an unfortunate miss on a game breaker.
You know, Sean, over the years, we've been on both sides of games like this.
Oh, yes.
What are both teams thinking and saying right now in that minute in between ends?
Well, I'm sure Team Schuster's probably thinking, man, I don't feel like we're playing that badly because they're not playing that badly.
They're not.
But it's just like, I feel like I'm not doing anything really all that wrong, and we're just not getting the results here. And
I think a big takeaway, in my opinion, is if you are Schuster right now, and this is a lesson for those of you at home, and again, having been on both sides of games like that, is keeping that communication up.
yes,
And it's easier said than done.
Yep. Yes, it is. It's very difficult. It's really easy to just go mute because on some level you might think the game's already lost, but it's important to still prep for situations like this. Because I mean, we talked about how Team Sturmey has Alberta Provincials coming up in 2 weeks. Team Schuster has U.S. Nationals coming up starting next week.
Correct, and I mean, obviously, the favorite probably going in, or 1A favorite,
one of the favorites,
right?
for sure.
Like, yeah.
Oh,
And I don't have it in front of me, but I think he's won 7-8 times,
Sorry, at least something like
right?
that. Oh yeah.
Plus, some of the mixed doubles events and
Yeah.
everything else. Like they're winners.
Yeah. Yes, they are. They're definitely the cream of the crop in the U.S. and have been for a long time.
And you just mentioned something. How tough is it to stay on top of your game for as long as John has?
It's so much work. I mean, it's.
I mean, we were talking earlier about teams coming out of Alberta and Manitoba, and yeah, you have like the Cooey and that, but like you have these young guys, Botcher and Sturmey, and there's kind of like 2-3 guys that are always nipping at the heels.
Mm-hmm.
But to stay on top for as long as John has in the U.S. is so impressive.
It's really impressive, and it's a lot of work. I mean, because especially with as tough as the game is now, and so many good teams that are coming right behind. Like even just here in the U.S., you've got the Young Bucks, Corey Dropkin, you've got Danny Casper, and any number of just really good up and coming U.S. teams. You can't take your foot off the gas at all because everybody's coming for you.
And just thinking about this, the number of changes and how he's adapted his game. because when he started on top, there was no 3 rock rule. I don't believe, and then we went to the 3 rock, and now we have the 5 rock, and the no tick rule, and how the game has evolved, and he has managed to adapt and stay on top of it with that. Is impressive. You know, not just a one-trick pony.
Oh, not at all. And you can't be a one-trick pony. I mean, that's why he's, won as many nationals as he has, and that's why he's an Olympic gold medalist. I mean, that's why he has all the credentials of a top-level team. But it's so tough to stay at that level for that amount of time.
Yeah, and time away from family, on the road, travel, for us, traveling out of Arizona generally is pretty easy.
Not that hard, yeah.
Traveling out of Duluth,
not that easy.
Not that easy. You have weather delays. You have to either drive to Minneapolis, and just all of it it's a layer of complication.
Absolutely.
And we had a couple teams, and a couple players that had missed flights, missed connections. Broom bags didn't make it this week. Because of the weather going on up north. I mean, everything worked out. Everybody got here, but it's some added stress that people just don't need at times.
Absolutely. And certainly after a while, you've played for so long, and you've accomplished what you've accomplished, and you start thinking about when have I had enough? I'm not saying anything about anyone right now about that sort of thing, but it's a grind. Anyone will tell you it's an absolute grind.
Yeah, having done, myself, and I think our busiest year, I think we did 4 or 5 tour events. And it's tough. Plus having a regular job and everything else, right? Because then you're like, okay, I get 3 weeks of PTO. How do I divvy this up? How do I still spend time at home to keep everybody there happy? How do I work in my other hobbies? It's
one of the things about competing at this level is that it basically has to be a full-time job.
Absolutely, you're working a second job.
You are, and for a lot of, especially international players like the Scots and the Swedes and some of the Swiss and whatnot, it is their job. They don't do anything but curl, and that's what it takes if you want to be a world champion, Olympic gold medalist. That's just what it takes.
Well, and I know too, and talking again with teams and stuff, and asking about their sponsorships and how do they get sponsors, and just one of the big changes is they said, even up in Canada, you used to walk into the local hardware store or whatever and say, hey, I'm a curling team, will you sponsor us? And they'd give you $50, $100, and you'd slap their logo on your jersey and you'd move on. Now, sponsors are saying, you know what, we'll do that, but what are we getting back? So that's another level of, they want them to do commercials, they want them to do corporate appearances, they want them to do speaking engagements, right? Like, it's again more work on top of work, so it becomes a job. It really does.
Absolutely. Team Schuster employing a little unorthodox strategy this end. They actually threw a center guard with their first because Sturmay's stone went all the way to the back 12. That idea there was to prevent Sturmay from peeling out their own rock, so Schuster could use it. As you see, they've gone down to it a couple of times, and this is basically, pulling out all the stops, using everything you've got to try and generate offense, to at least try to generate 2 this end. So sitting shot on the back 4 foot, you're going to see Schuster throw a couple of center guards. And again, unconventional strategy maybe for most players. Like, why are they throwing a center guard with hammer? Well, it's because that's all they have to work with, and they're down a ton of points.
Yeah, right. You gotta. What you were doing wasn't working, so we got to throw the playbook out and come up with a new one.
Exactly. So yeah, it's about protecting this stone. At some point you're going to see if you can put one in there to maybe sit 2, and if you get a miss at some point, maybe you can still squeeze a cheap 3 out of this. Anything's possible, but of course Team Sturm is going to do everything in their power to be sure that doesn't happen. Very much like to defend their Golden Wrench title from last year and put their name on that trophy twice.
I'm trying to think. I know McEwen has won it twice with Reed Carruthers, 3 times maybe, but I can't remember if they were ever back-to-back.
feel like they were. Were they not 3?
I feel like we could look this up.
Well, we could go out and get the trophy, but don't want to do that.
Well, we also have the internet in our hands. You know what? I'm
Go
check
ahead
it out.
and look,
I'm going to check it out.
I'm sure it's out there. I feel like McEwen is definitely on that trophy 3 times. Well, and then back to back. I mean, we have to exclude the COVID years too.
Correct.
So I don't know.
I'd give them back to back on that.
Yeah, I think most people would. Team Schuster's still throwing the center guard. Team Sturmey still going to peel it. 6-point lead. There is no need to be complicated at all. It's full-on defense at that point. Gearing with the peel.
Okay, here we go. Champions 2016, Pat Simmons with John Morris, Carter Rycroft, and Nolan Thiessen. That's when they were Team Canada.
It's a pretty good team.
And Pat made the draw in the Brier that year to win,
yes.
which was just cold-blooded.
Yeah, after a lineup change midweek.
Yes, cold-blooded.
Yep.
2017, Mike McEwen with BJ, Matt Wozniak, and Denny Neufeld. 2018, Mike McEwen with Pat Simmons subbing.
Okay.
Yes, Matt Wozniak and Denny Neufeld. And then 2019, we have Carruthers and McEwen
Okay.
with Derek Somogalski and Colin Hodgson. And then in 2020, we had Jason Gunnelson, who, what a career he's had and some interesting stories.
Yeah.
Just, with Alex Forrest, Adam Casey,
Okay.
kind of a curling nomad,
Yes.
and Connor. And then 2023 with Carson Sturmey, Kyle Deering, Curtis Goler, and Glenn Venance.
So McEwen is on there three times in a row.
Yep.
Just with slightly different teams each time.
Yeah. So there we have it.
Very nice. The internet for the win.
Yeah, pretty good run. Provided we can trust curlingzone.com. Jerry, if you're watching, we got you, my man.
I feel like the stats on there are generally going to be pretty good. Jerry is no slouch when it comes to that stuff. So Chris Plies is last. He just dropped it right on top of his own in the back. Team Schuster sitting 2. Sturmey looking to throw a nice hack waiter here to hit a 1. Off it goes, and, well, now you see what happened here. They squeezed that other Sturmey stone far back enough. Looks like Schuster is sitting 1st and 3rd. So now,
Well, this is interesting because I think the average competitive league at your local curling club, they would just say, well, let's hit the yellow and sit 3.
yes.
There wouldn't be any discussion.
Nope.
But given the scoreboard and given the talent level of these teams, they're sitting there thinking, what can we possibly do to, that's just a little different?
Yeah, well, in this particular situation, just given the lineup, I still think Schuster has to go ahead and hit this.
Yeah.
And sit the 3 now. The trick is, at the competitive leagues, like you say, it's just hit it and sit 3, and that's the end of the thought process. Here, it's going to be, I want to hit it, I want to sit 3, and I need to not leave a double, or at least if I leave a double, make it as tough as possible.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
So in this case, John is going to clearly want to roll to the broom side, or the high side, as we call it. Probably just stay over in the 12-foot somewhere and make any kind of double as difficult as possible for Carson Sturmey. He's got some roll. Probably rolled a bit further than he would have liked.
But
Still,
no easy doubles.
No, there are no easy doubles. There's no really, with a couple of rare exceptions, there are really no such thing as an easy double.
Fair.
Still got to hit it in the right spot.
I appreciate you saying that. Makes my doubles that I've made in my career feel better that they weren't easy.
That's what I'm here for. I feel like John would have been happier if that had stopped maybe just about a rock higher, like somewhere in the 8-foot. Would have made this a little tougher.
'Cause, 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 'cause,
But as it is, this is no gimme. You're probably only hitting about a third of this one on the side of the 12-foot.
You think you're just rolling in front of the one in the back 4?
Oh, I think he's playing the double.
You think he's playing the double?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, up 6, you're just playing the double, and I'm saying you can have your 2. Close. There it is, and ooh,
Well,
pretty close to a triple, actually. Wow.
right? Give him the balloon.
Yeah. We talked about that. Have the balloon. Doubles balloon. But as it happens, little patience and on a little bit of unorthodox strategy on John Schuster's part, giving him this chance for an open hit for 2. At least get on the board in this final.
Yeah, 6-2. You got a bit of a ball game.
Yeah, you got something going. Still plenty of curling left to go. Last rock, John Schuster, 4th end. Straightforward nose hit. Pick up 2. Get on the board. Not really a concern with somebody like Colin sweeping. No mistake. Right on the nose.
Ho-hum deuce.
Ho-hum deuce. As plain as they come. So that's going to be 6-2 Sturmey. Going into the 5th end, they're going to be up 4 with hammer. Definitely a commanding position.
Yep. 5th end, getting ready underway. John Landsteiner getting ready to throw his lead rock.
Yep. I can down 4 without. It's all about guards, and you're in full-on steel mode.
Yeah, they are going to go hard.
They have to. No choice.
And conversely, Team Sturmey is going to want to keep this as simple as possible.
Absolutely.
So you're going to see who imposes whose will.
Yep. Yep. Team Sturmey is going to start smoking rocks out of play just as soon as they can. Team Schuster is going to be using everything at their disposal. I don't think it's quite so dire as to say that Team Schuster can't allow Team Sturmey to score again, but it's not all that far from that. If they allow Sturmey to score again, it would have to be a force.
So I just took a moment here to look it up. U.S. Nationals, John Schuster, 8 golds,
That's pretty good.
1 silver, and 2 bronze.
Wow.
Something to hang your hat on.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the 2018 Olympic gold,
That's something to hang your hat on to, I think.
the 2006 bronze in Turin with Pete Fenson.
Fenson, absolutely.
Yep. And then 2016 World Championship bronze, and 2007 Winter Universidad.
Mm-hmm.
So, definitely solid career.
He's for sure.
First ballot Hall of Famer,
Oh, no question. There's
right?
no
they
question
might
at all.
just rename the hall after him.
They might. I mean, come on. First U.S. skip to win an Olympic gold medal. I think he could have a lot of things named after him as far as curling goes.
I remember chatting with him, I think it was last year during this event, and somebody had asked him, like, do you get recognized more now? And he mentioned there was like one time at a Twins game, some guy came up to him and said, "Oh, you're John, the curler, right?"
Nice.
Like, so plus so he's got that going for him as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, one time at a baseball game.
Yep.
That's cool. So a few rocks in play to start, but basically dictated by the free guard zone. That middle stone can't be ticked, can't be peeled. Wondering how he can possibly manufacture a steal from this setup. There's two stones in pretty good position for Team Sturme. They're well placed, especially that top four biter. That's exactly where you want that.
Stone's a killer right now.
Yeah, and you don't want any deeper than that because it's shot stone, but there's still plenty of room. Plenty of room to. They don't necessarily need to score two, but plenty of room to at least score. No question that Team Sturme isn't able to score a deuce or more this end, their preferred result would be to blank.
Yeah.
I'd love to just hold on to the hammer. But
the power of the hammer?
Power of the hammer.
I appreciate you coming around on that, Sean.
I have not come around on that. I have just started saying it because everybody else says it. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Looks like they're actually playing a raise on that center guard.
Yeah.
Gotta move stuff around. Oh, how good is this?
Right? God, he probably threw it, back 8 because he had to move 2-3 stones?
He had to move 4 stones. Probably almost back line, I would say.
Yeah.
And I mean...
It's so delicate.
There's
the precision.
There's not much more you can get out of a shot like that. But again, this you call a shot like that because we know we need to move stuff.
Yep. And you know Sturme's going to peel.
You know Sturme's going to peel. You got to leave your own stones in play. But how many people play that kind of a weight on that kind of shot? Very, very few.
I don't know that we even discuss it.
No, it's not in our our toolbox.
Right. Absolutely.
It definitely is a little bit more favorable for Schuster with this setup because they push that stone into the full 4 foot. They've also got a stagger at the top of the 8 foot. There's still some opportunity to make something happen, but again, got to play a raise on this.
And again, looks like softer weight.
Yep. Having to play these difficult shots, but there's really no choice because of the scoreboard. And this is Colin's not happy with that because it is way overcalled.
However,
well, I mean, it does make that, but it does set up a red double. Actually, it sets up a red triple.
Yeah.
You could play.
Yeah, looking at it now. Yeah. At first, I was like, "Ooh, we may have gotten away with one," but
I mean, it kind of did. It's not bad looking, but against a team of Sturme's capability, that is a red triple for days. You could also just play the red double too. You don't necessarily need to, but I feel like
the stone that's going to hurt you is going to be the guard.
Yep.
So that I think that's the one. Even if you make the double on that and you don't make the triple, I think that's the double to play.
Yeah, you want to get rid of that center one, and you're hitting a little bit less than half. You go on to right on the top of that 4th shot stone, straight back, double off the reds. All 3 of them could very easily fly here.
And I expect this stone to be moving a little bit.
Oh, she just looks like about half the space maybe. It's actually going to be way too thin, just the peel.
Straight peel? And honestly, probably a little bit of a break.
Yeah, huge break.
Because now...
Huge break.
Now they can put a guard up that's in a better line.
Or they can
tap or do something else.
Because they know this This current setup is not great.
Yeah, that yellow Sturmey stone on the button is going to be looking pretty lonely after this.
It might be, yeah. Actually, being where it is, it's, just a couple shots ago, just nibbling the top of the forefoot, it was really good for Sturmey. Now it's a problem. Chris Plaza's first shot at this fifth end. Placing this in the pocket, just on the top of the 12. See if you want to move these around a little bit. We don't really have on-ice audio, so we can't hear the conversations all that much. This is definitely moving things around. Just kind of changes the angles a bit up front. Still leaves Sturmey this.
The wide double, or
Yeah, it's gonna be
even
the
the top double.
The slash double on the second and third shot. Just kill the two reds and lose your own. Again, up four with hammer, all you want to do is simplify. Definitely was tighter than the not hit where they wanted. Ended up killing both of their own, leaving both Schuster stones around. Now Schuster sitting 3. So definitely big mistake there on the part of Team Sturmey.
Yeah, I think at the moment, the best thing Sturmey has going in this end is the fact that the forefoot's pretty wide open, so they can draw for their one either side.
That's kind of what's looking like he's going to be facing with his last. Schuster is about to throw a guard on those two in the top of the 8 foot there.
And, there's, obviously we talked about the wrenches, but I believe first prize, this game has, $5,000 riding on it?
Yeah, I believe the winner of this event gets $5,000. That's U.S., not Canadian.
Yeah.
Runner-up gets $3,000. Semi-finalists were $1,500, and the quarterfinalists received $850.
Fantastic.
So that's money.
Yeah.
That's something.
Covers your part of your travel probably, maybe one of the meals or something, just by qualifying, and from there it's gravy.
It's all bonus. Yeah. Sturmey just peels that guard. We'll see Schuster put it back. Likely Sturmey will peel again, and then we'll see what Team Schuster decides to do on his last. Whether they simply guard again, or if they bring another one in.
I'd be given the scoreboard, I'd be tempted to bring another one in.
I think I kind of would too. I feel like I'd like to put it somewhere just to make it.
Just even if it's top 8 to the as overhead view to the left of the other two, to try and choke down
Sure.
that 4 foot scoring zone.
Absolutely. You never know. You get a couple feet light on a draw, you might steal 1 or 2 out of this. Yeah, all kinds of possibilities.
Given this ice, this looks to be more of a let's try and run it in and make something happen.
It could be, yeah. You just drive it straight back. You drive it straight back, you can scatter 3 reds, at least open it up.
Yeah, and then that draw to choke off the 4 foot by John is less imposing.
Yes. Carson Sturmey. But then looking for the run back. Love to lose a couple of these if you can. Just gets the guard.
Which, acceptable
Which
result.
is absolutely fine. Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. So now the question becomes, you put this someplace, do you just play some kind of a tap? Move this into the closer to the button area, maybe try to sew up a steal of one?
You know, I kind of like the idea of an in-turn tap. Because the way they're angled with the drag, that red would go back, and you would still have two guards in front.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's halfway listened to you. He's doing the tap. It looks like the out turn.
If he had listened to me, I'd be concerned.
Accurate. But I think they're throwing the out turn because that's the turn they play pretty much all in.
Yeah.
They know it better. I think you definitely want to get a little bit low, which is on opposite of the broom side. You want to cross it a little bit.
Yeah, and that's why I was thinking the in-turn, right? Like, just easier to get to that side.
Sure. Well, when you have somebody like Colin Huffman sweeping the rocks, you can pretty much do anything you want.
Or you can throw a stone as good as John can.
You can do that too. Yes.
Right, either way.
Or combine the both.
Yeah.
Throw it like John Schuster, sweep it like Colin, and it's just going to do whatever you want, basically. Good. Just a little bit, I think.
Yeah, they had to get just a touch more to the other side of cross nose.
Yeah, I definitely had to get low, and it taps it to the button, but it's pretty much wide open.
And I expect to see something here of soft weight.
Yeah, this one.
Hack.
Yeah, hack at the most. This is not about removing the red. It's just about sitting there and scoring.
Exactly. And taking some of the speed variable out of it.
Yes.
With, as opposed to just throwing a draw or coming down to it and just a little tap.
Yes, exactly.
So here we go. Fifth end hammer. Carson Sturmey looking to play a little tap back for his one. And move on.
Move on. Keep control of the game.
And sweepers, going now. Off, just kind of walking in, and they probably think this looks pretty good.
That looks like it's right on the money.
Yep.
No mistake.
And after 5, we have a score of Team Sturmey 7, Team Schuster 2. For those of you keeping score at home in your playbooks. Start of the 6th end. Team Sturmey without hammer. Going to be coming in.
Definitely. 5-point lead. They're still in all defense mode.
I remember looking back to my curling youth many moons ago. It just seems so counterintuitive to call hitting defensive.
Yeah.
And as I've grown
Yes.
in my curling career, I understand it now.
Yes.
But it just seems backwards.
No, it's like, man, it's hitting, it's going boom. Isn't that aggressive? Like,
that's so offensive.
That's not how it works. It's just not how it works. But everything about curling is backwards.
Fair.
Right.
Fair. I don't want to start an international incident, but I will say those dang Scots.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'll leave it at that.
Yep. We'll just leave it at that and we'll walk away. Good call. Team Sturmey is going to be going in.
I was just thinking about that a moment ago because we were talking years ago about curling, and then somebody had mentioned, that other odd Scottish sport. And somebody else who looked over us and said, "You mean the caber toss?" When clearly the answer was golf that they were looking for.
Not the caber toss.
But, yeah. I just, that memory just popped back.
Jeez. That other Scottish sport that nobody knows about. So here we go again, pulling out the unorthodox strategy. Team Sturmey comes in to the top 4 with their first one. Team Schuster throwing center guard. You might ask, what's the idea here? Well, you talked about earlier about, the standard playbook wasn't working. You got to try something else. And honestly, down 5, you kind of have to throw out the standard playbook. You got to try something different. This is just knowing that Sturmey is going to be drawing all the play to the middle. Schuster's going to play along with it. Going to go to the middle. Going to try and get some rocks in play. And down this many points, you need a break.
Yep.
You need several breaks. Let's be honest. But it's just using what you've got, and they're going to use those 2 Sturmey rocks in the house as guards. Try and draw around them. You're using everything you've possibly got to try and get some offense going. Because Sturmey is going to do everything in his power to not let you get that offense going. This is definitely not an unusual play for teams that are behind on the scoreboard to be drawing to the back 8 foot, back 12 foot. Doesn't even need to be shot, just needs to be in the rings. That's very well done.
So I do see in the YouTube chat a shout out to Koaluska.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for that. Appreciated. I am one half of that team, Eric Kowal, along with my partner Matt Galuska. We did the wrenches this year. I've done the wrenches previously. For those of you that know or don't know, I have a background in aerospace manufacturing, so I've always done the wrenches for this event. But a few months ago, we started a new company, and we're putting ourselves out there. So thank you for the shout out. I appreciate it.
Some seriously high quality stuff, that Koaluska gear. That's really cool stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, we
Koaluska.com, folks.
We like what we're doing. It's fun, man. It really is. So
I hope it takes off. I really do.
We've got we've done a couple other projects for some clients that are to be unveiled coming up on their social media, and dude, some of it is on fire. So yeah, it's exciting. Back to the action here. Sturmey currently sitting 3. Top house, top 4, and back 8. And Team Schuster just looking to draw in and around.
Yep, just going to go down to that back one. Goes to the back 4. Actually stays for shot. But again, this is all about knowing full well that all the play is going to be to the middle, and also trying not to leave as many angles for Team Sturmey to make as many double kills as possible. That's why everything's coming to the middle. But down 5, you don't really have a choice. You're basically just trying to put your rocks in the rings. Hopefully, you can make some kind of big shot at the end to score multiples. That's really all you've got to do.
Yeah, you're in a way, you're almost trying to make it a doubles game.
Sure.
Right? Because doubles just has so many wild swings because of the stones in play.
Yep.
And just those angles and in the 4 foot, and you hopefully make something pop to, get 3-4 on the last shot.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's very much what it seems like they're shifting gears to do.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And that is dictated by the scoreboard. Down 5. You've got 3 ends left. Definitely at this point, I don't believe they can allow Team Sturmey to score again. They have to get certainly at least 2 with the hammer this end, if not 3, preferably 3. Of course, the more the merrier. But even after that, they need to steal, and they know that. But first things first is just pulling out absolutely every stop they can this end, get a multiple score, and see what happens. Center guard up from Colin Huffman. Kyle Deering with the peel.
Textbook.
Yeah. Pretty standard shot. Next to the rock throwing hard.
John looking like he wants to mix up where this stone is going to come in. Maybe try and corner on that yellow in the top 4.
Yep.
Probably making his move at this point.
Yep. Gonna bring play into the rings, and because this is telling me that he wants more than 2. If he can possibly manufacture it. Looks like it might be a little heavy. You don't want to bounce off and give it double. Oof. Unfortunate miss there. Chris Ply is just a touch heavy on that. Rubs off. Let's see what his left team Sturmey.
Now, if you're Sturmey here, obviously you're going for the double. The question is, given the scoreboard, do you even care if this rock sticks around?
No, not really, but the way you're playing this double, it will stick around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, conceptually, no. You're not worried about it. You want to make the double first, but the way to make this double is sticking around. So, kind of, yes. Well, and it's not going to stick around, so there you go.
There we go.
Yeah. So, in short,
but I'm with you. I thought it was.
Well, yeah. I mean, are they concerned about it? No, but
yeah.
The idea there is to clear the Schuster rocks, and that's it.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Play's looking to come down to that back one. Sit second. Behind what little cover they have. This week they're showing any interest. This one's cruising too. Oh boy. Roll off. Doesn't even sit for third. Just a couple of shots there from Chris that were a little bit spicy.
Again, we talked about it, practice and first end. I mean, this ice all weekend has been lightning
Just
quick.
lightning fast. I love it.
Grease lightning.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
We're talking 415s, 420 draws,
Yep.
15 and a half, 16 second hog to hog. That is just
great. It's so much fun to play on ice like that. You can do anything.
And it's not, I said grease lightning, but it's not greasy under your foot either.
No.
Right? Like it's been just, it was phenomenal. So a shout out to Sean Tate and Tom Danielson and the rest of the ice crew here for, again, just putting on a phenomenal event. Kevin Maloney as well, I know, and Rob Cook and a few others. And I know I've not named everybody, but holy smokes, did they do a great job scraping in between every draw.
Yeah.
Nipping, pebbling, mopping, running rocks, just everything that goes into making a great ice.
It's so good. It's no wonder that we get the top flight teams coming back here year after year after year, even though, we're in Arizona, and it's like, what? There's not curling in Arizona. It can't be good. No, folks. This is the real deal. You come here, you're going to get a first-class surface, and that's why we get teams of this caliber.
And a first-class experience at the Broken Broom Lounge.
That too. Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw more than a handful of guys this weekend leaving with some of our new T-shirt merch and can koozies and all that. So
very good.
I think
spread.
But I think it also speaks to just everything that's happening here at the club, and it's a testimony to the experience they're having.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, as if the weather this time of year wasn't reason enough to come down. They know they're getting, it's just a great time coming here. They're going to get world-class curling. You know, a lot of fun. Just, you know, good bar, good stuff, good people. It's just a great place to be.
That's pretty dang good, I think.
That's nice.
I mean, that just missed both those yellows and managed to sit shot.
And still sits for shot. That's pretty snazzy. So what I think you're going to see Sturmey do here is he's actually going to play the double run on his own.
Right? Like, he didn't even hesitate on that.
No. And this is the
Right.
call. This is the call you're playing all the day, anyways. This is honestly, as long as you're not on the nose, if you're somewhere on the broom side, you're hitting that red. It seems like a tough shot, but it's really not all that tough when you think about the angles. As long as you hit it somewhere on the broom side, unless you're super thin, you're making contact with that red.
There you go. And just like that, Sturmey's now sitting 2.
Sitting 2 and nowhere to hide.
That is exactly correct. I mean, there is nothing up north of the tee line. There's no guards. There's nothing to come around. I think the best you can do, well, I could be wrong. I was going to say would be just try and freeze on the nose of that, but it looks like they're playing to remove it.
They're trying to remove it, but they're not. I don't think they can get the back one out the way it's frozen. But well, and I don't know. They could also be that they maybe seeing the writing on the wall, like we're probably not winning this game. So we all get this. It's going to actually roll out, and that's actually going to be it.
Congratulations to Team Karsten Sturmey, along with Kyle Deering, Glenn Venance, and Curtis Goller on defending
Back-to-back champions.
back-to-back 2024 Ed Werenich Golden Wrench Championship, presented by Lodge Sasquatch Kitchen. Heck of a game.
Absolutely.
Heck of a week.
Yeah. Great time.
Great in both these teams.
Yes.
Right? Like, just this scoreboard does not reflect how good this game was played those first couple of ends.
Not at all. No.
So, thank you very much, everybody, and we are going to head off to the trophy presentation. Enjoy your time, and good curling.